Okay. The questions have been coming into the website, so some of you have actually put in your questions, but I get to ask them. So I will be editing them as I speak, so I hope you don't have too much pride of authorship. We had to take out the really nasty stuff we said about our panelists. They made me do that. You can't hear. They can't hear up there.
Can I do something?
All right.
Yes. Ron wants
You might want to just hold it close to your mouth the way I'm doing it right now, and just talk.
Just
like
hold it like this,
Oh, well, I'm
David.
trying to speak both ways. I guess I could
Like
use
this?
the handheld. We could switch. Mike and I can
Wow.
switch.
How's that?
All right, how's that? Okay? Okay. Is that better? Better? Okay. I'll sit up. Ready? Okay.
All right.
Let's just get right into it if we can at this point. The theme is embracing change, moving on as the majority. And one of the things that has been in the news last week or so is going to be in the news throughout the weekend, I'm sure, is the town hall meetings that Democrats are holding around the country that are being disrupted, depending on who you listen to, by either knowledgeable, concerned citizens,
Brought to you by Freedom Works. Gling!
crazy teabaggers, whoever it is. But Democrats, are split, and I know that'll come as a big surprise. But they're not sure how to even react to these crowds, and they're getting competing advice on what to do. Should you cancel the town hall? Should you go and fight? Should you ignore them? And well, let's all talk about it. But why don't we start at your end, Tom? What would your advice be to a Democrat who's a little worried about what he might find in a town hall meeting?
Well, there was a Democrat who confronted this last week, and there was a really great entry over Daily Codes that I shared with my listeners, where the guy got up and started right out by pointing out that there were people in the audience whose goal was to disrupt him, and that some of them were people who really had some passion and believed what they were saying, and that's fine, and we can have a conversation about that, but let's not have a disruptive conversation about that. And we will take your questions, but let's not do the shouting out thing. And he was actually successful by identifying it from the get-go and preventing it from happening. I don't think that's going to work in a lot of venues. There are some, there's a certain critical mass that seems to be reached in some places. The AFL-CIO is talking about having people show up to shout them back down, and now they're getting death threats. I don't know if you read Huffington Post this morning, and people saying that they're going to be bringing their guns and stuff. And I mean, it's getting bizarre. And I track this all back to the Sarah Palin crowds. This is where it all started, was when Sarah Palin started going out and basically, doing the dog whistle stuff, the racist dog whistle stuff, the what 40 years ago would have been the old communist dog whistle stuff, and it's a shame. It's a shame. But I would say identify it. But I'm curious to hear what my colleagues say.
I read something the other day. I don't know whose idea it was, but for people who are at those meetings and who are honestly seeking some information, have some questions asked, and then the bullshit starts, that the best way to handle it is for the people who are there sincerely, just start chanting, USA, 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 which will totally freak these right-wingers out. They won't know what the hell to do, USA, Now, that to me makes a lot of sense. On the other hand, there are other ways to do it, like, show up with some of your friends from the Devil's Disciples motorcycle gang and just get the word out. We're going to have a meeting in here, and if you people make a sound, you're going to be picking up your teeth with a broken arm. It's real simple. I'm sorry. I'm into violence now. They did it to me. I was a pacifist in the 60s. I swear to God I was. I was going to be a minister at one point.
That was noted anti-war activist Mike Malloy.
It was.
Explaining how you can pick up your teeth after a town hall meeting. What's happened to you?
That's called evolution.
You're drunk. That's my act. David, it's I think there was another one today, right? Yeah. Where there was literally people hospitalized. I mean, they're burning people in effigy. Brad Miller, right, in North Carolina, is not having them because he's had death threats. I mean, and you've got Glenn Beck and people like this that are putting up signs about how this is, this is Nazism and this is what they're trying to do. I mean, Sarah Palin, the biggest dope in America. Did you hear what she said today? She said Obama's health care plan is evil, and I don't want my loved ones to stand in front of his death. What did she
Death panel.
Death panel to decide who lives and dies.
And this is what she imagines it looks like, the death
Yeah,
panel.
this is it. Yeah. Well, that's the breaking news tonight.
Complete with potassium chloride.
Yeah. Caribou Barbie, there is a death panel, and this is it. This is what you would hope. It would be me and Tom Hartman Malloy. But, I mean, what can you do when you realize they're not coming to... We obviously, a lot of us have meaningful questions on health care, right? We have, people of good conscience can disagree, but that's not why they're coming. They're coming to disrupt it and to shout over people so that there can't be any meaningful discussion of health care. So I don't know what you do in that case, Dave. These are not... It's like the Republicans in Congress. They're not negotiating in good faith. Jim DeMint has said it, hasn't he? This is about beating the president politically, about breaking him. They have 0 votes. I agree with President Chuck Schumer. We got to go ahead with what the American people want at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think everybody here knows, I mean, these are not grassroots demonstrations, right? If somebody said these are AstroTurf protests, because they're totally phony. They're paid for by Dick Armey and Freedom Works. They're bussing them in. They haven't, go on the website, you can see it. My column this week, I reprint it. They've got a memo out there as to exactly what to do when they get there and how to disrupt, start early, spread out so they think there are more of you than there are. I mean, I'm almost afraid it's going to happen here. I don't trust I don't trust half of you.
Did Dick Armey send any of you? Because he was behind the teabaggers, and it takes a Dick Armey for a good teabagger.
Yeah, which is a point. I want to just disagree with Tom on a small point. I don't think these started, back when you said with
Sarah Palin.
With Sarah Palin. I think it started with 9/11. These are the same people that think 9/11 was an inside job. They're the same people that think, in fact, before that Neil Armstrong never walked on the moon. They're the same people that think Barack Obama was not born. And they're the same teabaggers. So you got the birthers and the baggers, and they end up, disrupting these town hall meetings. But I think what we ought to do, Mike, is, first of all, if I were a Republican, I'd pay them to stay home. If I were a Democrat, I'd pay them to show up, because I think they just make asses of themselves. They make the whole movement look like the Republican Party is controlled by the fringe element, which it is. So I'd say keep coming on, keep bringing them on. And maybe what they ought to do is when they start doing their stuff, just start, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. Watch it, see if they disrupt that.
By the way, how many of you brought your birth certificates in a baggie? Because if you didn't, get out!
That's right.
Wait, is it the long form or the short form?
All right, she was born in Kenya. Now we know that.
Have you seen it online? Have you seen the Kenyan birth certificate generator?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes.
We were all born in Kenya now.
Ron, what would you do? What would you tell your congressman to do?
Oh, no.
Yes. Okay. Better now? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It's difficult because you're not dealing with people who are
Louder.
I paid for this microphone.
I
paid for this microphone.
That's right. Better now? Is it
Yes.
now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. It's difficult to combat emotion and a lack of reason with reason and truth, I know, but you got to kind of do that. But you have to reveal these people for what they are, and you have to understand where